Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is a crypto update. I have been visiting some family, so I haven't gotten any videos out in the last few days, so I decided let's do it now. So what we've been talking about here for the longest time is we need some type of correction. So basically, when we got this chop, chop, chop up in here, and we had all this resistance, that's when I sounded the alarms. This is probably going to be an A, B, C, right? Some type of flat pattern before we go. Now, I didn't know if it's going to be a running flat, a regular flat, or an expanded flat, right? So it can be either one of those. So yeah, right now it's sort of looking like a regular flat. Let's see if this can break us out of 68.7K. So if we can break this high right here, right? Maybe we pull back a little bit, then break the high. That would tell me, yeah, probably the flat pattern is over, right? Unless, of course, it's going to continue building a range, right? So it can continue coming up here, coming back, continue ranging before it makes a decision. But usually what happens is you get some type of flat pattern, then you continue on. So I mean, just last week, I believe I said this here. So I put a video out March 14th saying, I mean, even before this, but this video says short term in need of a correction, right? So the short term is in need of a correction. This was back when we were above 70K. Take a listen. How much conviction there is. That was a real breakout. But look at the difference. I'm going to speed up the video for time purposes. Between this breakout, you can see it's very choppy, right? I mean, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see all that chop, right? So here's the all-time high, chop, 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 chop. And what do we say about that? What have I been saying for the last few months about what happens when that happens, right? Well, that's exactly what happened back over here. Same thing right here. Look at this. This is a flat where you have the top, you have this big conviction breakout, and then you pull down, you go chop, 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 and then you break out, and everybody's like, yay, we broke out, new all-time high, right? Which is happening now, but this is just an example or like a fractal of what I'm showing. But we chop, 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 we break out, everybody gets excited because we broke this top, but then bam, we come all the way back down. So that's an A, B, C. So again, we have a conviction breakout. We pull back. And that, my friends, that was an expanded flat right there. Let me see if I get the quality a little better. So that was an expanded flat, by the way. Chop, chop, chop. We break the top, but then we pull back. So A, B, C. So going back to where we are now, right? I mean, look how big this thing was. It was pretty big. So that could happen again, right? And that probably is what's happening. So we have to. So yeah, even before that, I probably, that's usually what happens when you get the chop, 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 and then you break out, and then you get resistance, resistance. You can see all these candles right here. They're trying, like each candle is trying, resistance, resistance. So as that was occurring, people are very bullish, right? We broke out into a new all-time high. The problem is it wasn't a real conviction breakout, and I'll explain that in a bit. But that's okay because that's what happened the last two times Bitcoin broke out at an all-time high. I'll talk about that. Conviction breakout, right? We came up here, and then we made a top. We pulled back, and then we chop, chop, chop. We broke the top, and it looks like this move that we broke the top. Look, here's the problem. When we broke out of the new all-time high with Bitcoin, it wasn't a move like this. It was a corrective move like this, right? So instead of this, you get this. And that, my friends, is not for sure. Nothing's ever for sure, but the probabilities are it's probably a fake out to the upside. The last two times Bitcoin broke a new all-time high after their 4-year cycle was a trap. But then it pulled back in a flat, and then it continued the all-time high. Because when you break the all-time high, what do people do? Leverage, 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 and then bam, it gets wiped out. And then they're not too sure again, and then we go. So boom, A, B, C. So there you go. And then if we go to the actual chart, so here's the actual chart, you can see that's exactly what appears to be happening. Now it can be different, right? But that so far so good. This is what's occurring, right? So again, we have this top. We came up here. We had this sharp correction to the downside. By the way, this was the all-time high around 69K. We didn't break the all-time high on this move. To me, this was the last impulse to the upside, right? So essentially, if you really, really think about it, Bitcoin did not break an all-time high. What it did was it corrected beyond the all-time high, if that makes sense. So for example, this 69K, right, was the previous 2021 all-time high, right? So we ran up to it in an impulse. We impulsed to the all-time high. Bam, we got rejected. Then all of this was corrective. And then it just so happened that we impulsed slightly, right? But it was more of a correction. We correct above the all-time high. So now we're at 71, 72K. Everybody goes, yay, all-time high. We broke out. Let's go. And that's true. The problem is we didn't break out of the all-time high looking like this. We broke out choppy, right? Which signaled to the smart investor, the smart money, right? Saying, hey, dumb money is looking at the headlines, all-time high. They're incredibly bullish, short term, not macro, but I'm talking about the short term. They're leveraging up. CNBC's talking about it. Fox Business. You got Anthony Pompliano on the news, and everybody's talking about Bitcoin all-time high, right? Everybody goes leverage high, and then what happens? Bam, you get wiped out. Why? Why did that happen? Because that's why I like technical analysis, because you can foresee, right? Not always, but probability-wise, something like this occurring, right? And something we've been talking about for quite a while. And I mean, also, you want to have some confluence into that too. And you can say, this was some type of maybe like a rising wedge or something like that, right? Where you have this move to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You get a three-way pullback, and then you continue higher, right? So we got a correction. The question is it enough? Is it enough? Let's pull it all the way down here. I believe I said I wanted a 15 to 20% correction. We got a 17.5% correction. And now we are starting to impulse. I mean, this is a pretty nice rebound here. I wouldn't buy in it yet. I mean, obviously, too, I mean, look at this. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The problem with that is you can't do that because wave 3 is too small. So instead of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually, let me zoom into the 1 hour chart. Let's see if we can get some more detail on the wave here. Okay, so you could theoretically say this is 1, 2, right? All of this is 3. This is 4, and this is 5, right? So you got an ABC right there, right? So essentially, you can say that this whole thing is an A, B, and a C, right? So in your fifth wave, or in your C wave, now let's talk about the C wave. You have, it looks like a 1, 2, 1, 2 to the downside, right? And then you get 3 and 4 and 5. So you had wave 4, or I'm sorry, you had wave 3, 4, and 5. So now let's turn on the RSI and let's see if we had divergence. Look at that, we have divergence, right? So look at from here down to here, from here down to here. And then this is going down, right? Look at the RSI, it's going up. People say, why is your video so long? They're like an hour long. They should be 5-10 minutes. Because then I can't explain things the way I need to explain it so that you can have the tools to go about doing it yourself, right? And people pay money for that, and I'm doing it. A lot of times people just want the answer. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? And there's so much more to that than meets the eye. So I like to sort of go through things that way. If you're looking at the chart yourself and you start to see the things and the thought process that I'm going through, then it kind of helps the individual better than sort of that instant gratification. I think I might do those videos later on, like a 5-10 minute video for a members group. But for now, I like to go through it that way. There's no question about what we're talking about and what we're doing. And then, because a lot of times when people say, "Oh, you said this," and not me specifically, but generally, just across the spectrum, right? Of people who put out analysis YouTube videos. Oh, you said this, you said that, right? That's why you go in detail, and that way it sort of clarifies things, right? Because of the big disconnect is time frames, time, right? Short-term analysis versus long-term macro, things like that. But anyway, so we have an ABC. This looks really good. It looks really good. Potential reversal territory here. Let me zoom in a little more. Let's go down to the 30-minute chart, right? Looks kind of like we came down here, we had a little shoulder, we came down, we made a little head, another little shoulder here, right? So take it from there to there, roughly. Bring it back up here. So maybe we have an upside target of potentially 68.2K, right? So right now it's 3 wave-ish. We have 1, 2, 3. What I really want to see is 4, 5. If we can get a 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead of a 1, 2, 3, then I would look for an ABC pullback, maybe back test the breakout zone right here. Then that's where I would go long, right? I wouldn't go long now. I would wait. Not financial advice. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice. I could be totally wrong. Always know that. This is not, ever, and nothing's for sure. This is all, like I said, probabilities. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, go. That's what I would hope to happen. Now, it doesn't mean that's going to happen, but that's what I would like to see happen if, in fact, this correction is over with, and if, in fact, it's a reversal. So how do we know if it's a reversal? If we get something like this, like a bull flag. We come up here, and then we flag out, and then we go. So if we get this flag coming soon, maybe from now through the weekend, right? Then it looks like we're in reversal territory. Now, another thing that could happen is we can pump up way higher, way up here, and break all of this liquidity, because all of this is resistance right here. What do the market makers do? They like to break resistance, right? Retail, they short the resistance, or they'll sell it. But what the market makers like to do, they can't really sell resistance because there's not enough liquidity. So what they have to do is they have to break the resistance, open up the spigot of liquidity, people go in, and then they bring it down. And that would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bigger wave to the upside. And that's what you really want to see, is you really want to see a break above this. Let's get up here. Then everybody goes long. Let's go long. We broke out. It's reversal, but no. That's sort of that initial wave, and then you get that pullback. Then you go long. You always want to wait. You got to be like a lion. You got to be a tiger. You gotta look at it like you haven't eaten in 2 weeks and you're hungry and you're waiting for your prey. And you don't want to mess it up, right? So, yeah, I think that's what I would be looking for if, in fact, this thing is this correction, this flat pattern. That's what it looks like, right? A, B, C. right? Then we get a 1, 2, then we start going 3, 4, 5, then we go. Now that could take a lot longer than how I've drawn it. This, corrections, if it's a wave 4 correction, or if it's some type of bigger correction, this thing can get very complex, right? And what I mean by that is you can have 1, 2, 3, right? Then you can come up again, 1, 2, 3. Then you can come back down, 1, 2, 3, and then go. So what that would be, right? I'm just giving you the options. I'm giving you the possibilities of how this could sort of form, because we all want to know, when's this thing going to break out? Well, that was the first idea, and that would be the idea that I would like to happen for that reversal to come in. We get that impulse of the ups, because look, this looks like an impulse. We are still pumping. It's looking good. If it turns into a 3 wave, then you want it to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, something like that. A, B, C, go long, right? So the ABC I was talking about down here is just the first wave. So remember, you have subwaves, right? So if I zoom in, the first wave has a subwave. And the subwave so far is only 3. So we have 1, 2, we're getting 3. Hopefully we get 4, 5. If we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that could be wave 1 of the larger degree. Then you pull back, right? Then you continue higher. Right? Then the higher degree would be 3 waves. You see what I mean? So then on the higher degree, you would want another pullback with another move to the upside. That would be 5 waves of the higher degree. Then you get the bigger 3-way pullback, then the continuation, right? So always know that. Sometimes it gets confusing when people, not just my videos, but just in general, right? When people listen to things, there's always different degrees, different time frames, and I don't want people to get confused. That's why my videos are longer, because I want to sit there and explain it so that people can, have a better understanding of these things. Like I said, I'll probably do the shorter video soon, in some type of members form. So anyway, so again, that was the idea number 1, right? Where we have an impulse, we have a pullback, we continue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Pull back and then continue higher, break this top, and then boom, see you later. Now it can be more impulsive. It could be any number of the way it looks. Just the way I have it drawn is just a visual representation of what I'm trying to explain. Now, moving on, idea number 2, like I said, would be this is 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Now we have 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then we have another 1, 2, we have 1, 2, 3, something that takes out this low. And that, my friends, would be a W, X, and a Y, right? And then we would go, right? So that would be, option number 2 would be, this is going to be a more complex correction. And then when you zoom out, it looks like a beautiful correction, right? You have, and what I've been talking about since, over here is it's looking like the 5 waves is getting close to be done. So you have 1, 2, right? 3, 4, 5, right? And then, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the 5th wave ended here, right? Ended here. And this is an A, B, C correction. And now you go. So that would be the first idea. The second idea would say that this is 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Then this would be a 1, 2, 3, or a W, X, Y to the downside. So it really depends on this wave here, because this is our impulse, right? And this is our correction. So the question is, what is this correction doing? What is it correcting? right? Is it correcting a 5-wave move? Here, let me take everything off the screen. Is it correcting 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? And then we have, and then in the correction is A, B, C. And then we sort of kick off and go, right? So we have this flat pattern in the middle. Or let's say that's not a flat, right? Then it would be the WXY, in which case it would be 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So this was actually a legitimate impulse to the upside. I don't think so because of the way it looks so corrective. It looks very corrective. So I don't like that one, but of course it's a possibility. 1, 2, all of this is 3, 4, and then this is 5. If that's the case, then this can't be a flat. Then what it would be, right, is like I said, it would be probably either an A, B, C, or a W, X, and a Y, where you have 3, 3, 3, or it could be 5, 3, 5, or it can be 3, 5, or I'm sorry, 3, 3, 5. So 5, 3, 5. So 5 waves down, 3 up, 5 down. It could be 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. Or it can be 3 down, 3 up, and 5 down. Either way, whatever it is, it would be a 3-way move, and then we would start to rock and roll. So, of course, that is on the table. The question is, so those are basically my 2 ideas right now. So, number 1, like I said, for a very long time, that was my initial thought. This is an A, B, C, some type of flat. And then now let's flag out. We got the impulse. Great. Let's flag out. Continue rocking to the upside. Perfect. Right? And then look at, you have a shoulder, you have a head. Let's see if we get another shoulder in here. Look at this. Shoulder, head. Let's get up to the neckline here. Pull back, make another shoulder, and then go. That would be a beautiful continuation. So there you go. Those are the 2 ideas I have with Bitcoin. It's either a WXY or an ABC, or it's part of a flat and the flat is finished. So there you go. That is what I have for you on Bitcoin for the short-term analysis. And look at that. It only took 22 minutes for me to go through that. And that's not bad considering considering I haven't put out a video in quite some time, right? So that is the short term. Now let's say this correction is going to get much bigger and much more complex, right? So of course you have, this is your sort of resistance line right up here, right? Something like that. And you have a shoulder, you have a head, and now we can come all the way back down because remember, we have not tested the bull market support band yet. And that is concerning. And that the bull market support band is all the way down at 49K, right? So it's rising rapidly, but just understand that this thing can be a lot bigger on the bigger time frame, and of course the smaller one too, right? So this thing can be something like this, where you see the bull market support band, the price meets up with it, tests it, creates this shoulder here. So we have an inverse head and shoulders, right? Or you can say this is a cup and a handle, whatever. It's all good. So yeah, I hope that's not the case, because that would probably take the rest of the year, maybe until at least through the summer and probably some of the fall. Because like I said in the last video, the most bullish time for crypto is in the spring and the winter, right? So anytime after October is statistically very bullish. And March, April, May is also somewhat statistically bullish, right? So the longer it takes, the more we're going to get towards summer. The more, if we get into summer and we haven't broken this hot top yet, then it's going to be probably all summer long, right? And you can say, well, the halvening's coming up. Yeah, but to me, the whole thing with the halvening is oftentimes it's already priced in, right? And then it doesn't take effect right away. It's sort of a lagging indicator, right? Because the Bitcoin supply gets cut in half, right? But that doesn't affect the price instantly. It takes months and sometimes years to really have a profound impact on the way the mining supply gets cut. The reason you have volatility during that time, before or after around that time, is because of the news event, the actual event taking place, and people want to position themselves according to future results based off the supply getting cut in half and whatnot. But it doesn't happen instantly. People just price it in, right? So you can see the weekly candle. This is not a beautiful candle. This is very concerning because you have this big impulse, right? And you have this corrective, this doji candle, essentially, right? You have essentially this doji, right? And that doji right there is, it could be reversal, right? It could be a reversal candle, and a short-term reversal, and basically a correction, right? So if I go down to the smaller time frame, what could that look like? Well, of course, so those were my two primary short-term ideas, right? The second was sort of the macro idea if we had that larger inverse head and shoulder. Now we'll talk about, okay, if that occurs, how could that look like, right? So if I take this on, put this on, so just basically we need to get down into this bull market support band right here. So if I draw it like this, maybe we come up A, B, C, or W, X, Y, right? We come back down, boom, 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 boom. That would sort of be the best case scenario for a test of the bull market support band, right? So we have an A, B, C, and then bam, we wicked off of it and we go. That would be sort of the best thing that could possibly happen, in my opinion, right? Obviously, we can reverse now and continue going, great. But the problem is we haven't tested the bull market support band. And if you go back in Bitcoin's history, we've always tested it over and over again. And that's basically like the charging station of the bull run. I mean, look how many times here. So basically each wave, we tested the bull market support band. So look at this. Here's a wave, we tested the bull market support band. Here's another wave, we tested the bull market support band. Here's another wave, we tested the bull market support band. Here's another wave, we tested it again. Here's another wave, we test it again. Look at right there. We go up for another wave, boom, we come down, we test it again. You see what I'm saying? So each wave, it likes to test. Now look what happens when it doesn't test. Look what happens. We broke above the band, we didn't test it. We broke it higher, we didn't test it. Look what ended up happening. We ended up doing something very long and dreadful, right? So, and then look what happened here. This bull run was rather short. It really didn't get started until we broke above, sort of between this area and here. And then the bull run really lasted from I would say 15, 20K from here all the way up to here. And then it was done. It was over. And it was very short. Why? Because it didn't test it. It didn't really test it here. It tested it once. It came up in that first wave, but it needed to correct further down so that I can continue higher. But it didn't test it here, it didn't test it here, and it didn't test it here. So 3 missed opportunities led to a bear market. So how many missed opportunities do we have so far? So we broke above. We have 1 missed opportunity so far. So this is our second opportunity to test it. We don't have to test it, but if we go up for a third wave, right, without testing, right? So here's 1, 2, we didn't test it. Here's 3, right? This is the first wave. This is the second wave. If we don't test it down here now and we go up for another wave, then that means that time we really have to test it. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a nasty 6-month plus problem, maybe even a year. Okay, now that's why I believe there's a good probability that we can come all the way down here. Maybe not that low, but I would say here. I talked about this too in the other video. So basically, just take a Fibonacci retracement, simple, put it all the way up to the top, right? And a 618 retrace. So that's 52K. So, 52K would be a 618 retrace. 56K would be the golden zone. I mean, we only had a 382 retrace, not even that yet, right, of this wave we're in. So if I zoom in, get rid of this, and I say, okay, let's just do it from, instead of doing it from this whole wave, let's just do it from the last wave, the fifth wave. And let's see where we're at. So I'll start it from here all the way to the top. And that's actually pretty good. We have a 50% correct, a 50% retrace. That's pretty good. And we almost got to a 618. So 59K. I mean, look at this. This is actually, but look at this. It's still pumping. So it's looking bullish. 67K. Yeah, that looks like a pretty strong bullish impulse to the upside. Always wait for a pullback. This thing can get higher, but you want to see a pullback. You want to see proof, right? Because it could be a dead cat bounce, and it can still continue to roll over, right? And it can this could be 1, 2, or I'm sorry, let me do that again. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, some kind of diagonal. Now this would be idea number 3 instead of the flat. Instead of this would sort of fall under the flat category. So here's your top A, B, C. So if we have another wave to the downside, then basically it's saying the flat is still in effect. You know what I mean? So the flat isn't over with. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right? So A, B, C. So we're in the middle of the fourth wave of C, if in fact that's what it is. If not, then we want to break above this high. We want to break above this top. If we can break above it, have a pullback, and continue on, that pullback would be pretty bullish because we broke above it, right? Because then the wave, it wouldn't be a wave 4 because it would be overlapping into wave 2. So yeah, it would look pretty good for a breakout. Now, if it's going to roll back over, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it would still be an A, B, C. It would still be part of a flat. Now, it can come even further down, an extended fifth, right? And have a 702 hit, right? And that would be an expanded flat, right? So we're still kind of in the running flat territory. If we come down and we meet up with this wick, it would be a regular flat. If we go even further than that, it could be an expanded flat. So there's still, when the price corrects, there's few different possibilities, but they all narrow down to a couple, right? And so far, I'm sticking with my guns since back up here that this is a flat. Now, the way it could change my mind, right, is if this is an A or a 3 wave, another 3, and then another 3, something like this. Then I would say that this would be the 5th wave and not part of an ABC. You see what I mean? And that's why it's confusing, right? Technical analysis is confusing. It's complex. And I like to talk all about it, right? I just don't like to give a few boom, boom, boom. This is what I think is going to happen, because there's so much more to that. There's so much more to it than just what meets the eye. And I like to we want to talk about it all. So, we're not caught off guard here. And that way, you don't necessarily have to know which option it's going to be. Because like I've always said, the destination is pretty easy to know. It's the route. It's the road to get there is often difficult. So you don't have to know right away, right? You don't have to know right away. And then some people, they don't even mess with that stuff, right? All they do is say, like, the channels I'm talking about. All they say is, look, we're in a range, and I don't know what's going to happen unless we break the top of the range or the bottom. That's all they say, right? So anything they say, basically this: anything can happen. Anything can happen. We can break we are not going to know unless we break the bottom of the range or the top of the range. And then they just say, look, we're in the middle of the range. Who knows? It can go up or down. That's what they say, right? And that's fine, and that's true. That's true to the sense. But I like to take it further than that. What is it doing in the range? Why is it doing it in the range? I like to dissect the wave and really, be one with it and try to figure out, is this wave correcting this fifth wave, or is this ABC correcting this fifth wave from the top, right? So is the fifth wave end here, or did it end here? If it ended here, then you have a three-wave move down. If it ended here, then you have a three-wave move in a flat, right? So there's, that's the thing, right? So anyway, those are some of the possibilities there. Now, when you look at the bigger time frame, right? So there's evidence to suggest that this could continue higher, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. That's wave 1. That's wave 2. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is wave 3, and now we're working on our wave 4. Now, if it's going to be a wave 4, so here's the question. Is wave 3 finished? If it's not, then that's the big, okay, so there we go. So that's the big question. Is wave 3 finished? Right? Is it finished? Now, if it's finished, then we're probably going to have a bigger correction down to the bull market support band. Right? Because then it would be a fourth wave. And fourth waves are very complex. They take a long time. Yada, 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 right? If it's not, then what we want to see here is 1, 2. We can say all of this is 3, 4, and now we're still in that fifth wave of the third wave. So we're maybe in a wave 4 of 5. So we flag out for a little wave 4, right, which is that flat. Then we come up again, and that would complete the third wave. So when I zoom out, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 1. A, B, C. That's 2. Right? 1, 2. All of this is 3. That's 3. Then we come down for a bigger wave, meet up with the bull market support band in a wave 4, then continue on for wave 5, which would hopefully get us past way beyond the all-time high, right? And then that would be the end of the bull run. That's it. That would be the end of the bull run, because we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then if you zoom out even further, that would end the fifth of the fifth. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of this is 5. So you see what I mean? 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of this is wave 5. And that, all of this wave, is also a wave 5, because if you zoom out even further, right, what do you see? You see 1, 2, 3, right, 4, and all of this is wave 5. So once we get this fifth wave, I think Bitcoin's going to be in a bear market for years, right? Because that would complete 5 waves, right? So if I zoom out a little bit more, you can see how it's starting, it's starting to sort of wane down like this. It looks like the curve is starting to form. So that's millennia, right? That's major long-term analysis right there. But essentially you have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And this could have been 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is A, this is B, this is C. That would be the ultimate bearish count if, in fact, this was a wave 5, or if this is a wave 5. But I'm not counting it like that. I'm counting it like this: 1, 2, 3. This is 4. This is 5. Right? And that would be my hope. Now it could be the other one, and it could be some kind of flat, right? Where you have an A, we come up for B, then we come all the way down for C. So basically a massive, massive flat. So here's your top, A, you come up for B, then you come down for C, then you go, right? So yeah, there's no reason to talk about that because we're not even near there. But just something to think about. So that's what I have for you on Bitcoin. What do you think? There's a couple different things that could occur. Now, looking at the altcoins, they look so much more bullish than Bitcoin. So here's what I would say. If this wave 3 isn't finished, great, perfect. If it's not, and we start to come down into a wave 4, and we start ranging bigger, right? So let me show you what that would look like as a visual. So I'll take this wave here, and I'll put it here, right? I mean, you can even do it all the way down here. So from the 5th wave, all of this is one wave. So the 618 of the entire 5th wave would be approximately 43.5K. So I would say, and look at that, the 50% Fibonacci is right at the bull market support band. So I would say between here and here, but I don't like that. You know why I don't like that? Because if it goes to the 618, then it would have broken up below the bull market support band, and then we would have more problems. So, that would be the issue. But essentially, if it wants to have a wave 4 correction, which it totally could, then you're looking, then there's, I would say the worst case scenario for Bitcoin would be, in the 40s. So between 40 and 50K. That would be the worst case scenario for a continued bull run. Anything lower than that, then that tells me we're going down into reaccumulation, which would be my initial, when we were over here, my initial thought, which is rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. And you can say, well, how do you go into reaccumulation if we broke out to a new all-time high? Well, it could be sort of like a running flat, something like that, right? So yeah, that would be, so any type of correction, right? So maybe you have something like this, 1, 2, 3, right? Come back up, 1, 2, 3, come all the way back down, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Something like that. So a 3-wave shape. You always want a 3-wave shape. 1, 2, 3. Some type of 3-wave move that gets us into the golden pocket, right? As they say, for another impulse to the upside. So, that would be a proper wave 4, right? So then when you zoom out, what do you have? You have, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, I'm just giving you ideas of what this correction could turn into, right? We're especially on the higher time frames. On the lower time frames, it looks like a flat that's almost completed, and we're going to continue higher. On the higher time frames, it looks like it might be something a little more serious where it requires more time. But essentially, you have 1, 2, we go all the way up for 3, we pull back down for 4, and then we go up for 5. And that could totally happen. And if that's not the case, then wave 3 isn't finished yet. And all the simple variation, because you can say, oh, it's up or down, but no. But the simple variation would be, if this breaks the top and we have another wave to the upside, then that would tell me, okay, now the third wave is in. Now get ready for something bigger. And I think that correction is coming this summer. Some type of bigger correction. But for me, I think it's still early spring, right? I mean, we're still in the middle of March, April. So I think we still have some bullishness left. If not, then what I would say is the altcoins would, right? Because remember how altcoins like to go. If Bitcoin starts to, consolidate, right, in a range, that allows the altcoins to, sometimes catch up, right? So, the altcoins needed a correction too. Now, if we can look at THETA, right, XRP, those look like it needed, or THETA looked like it needed a correction. But like, if you look at XRP, or XLM, it's been in a correction for a long time. I mean, it hasn't broken out. It's been correcting since July of last year, for goodness sake. So you can see Bitcoin's going up, XLM's going sideways. So this is as an example as an altcoin. So when you see Bitcoin going sideways, then you can probably anticipate XLM to break out, because that's usually what happens. This is going sideways, Bitcoin's going up. But now that Bitcoin's going sideways, people rotate it into altcoins that have already been correcting, like XLM. And that's what I'm hoping to happen. That's my play, in case you were wondering. Not financial advice, but that's my sort of play that I'm thinking here. Bitcoin's going to either continue up in a third wave following this flat that we've been in, that I've been talking about, or the fourth wave is already here and we're going to start ranging, which will allow the altcoins to catch up. Either way, I think, you got to give Bitcoin some time to sort of consolidate, find its range, right? Because it hasn't even begun its range. So here's the top of the range, and then here's potentially the bottom of the range. So far, all it's done is oscillate to the downside. So we want to oscillate to the upside, oscillate to the downside, oscillate to the upside. As that continues, that's when you can see, like maybe Aave, right? If I zoom out on Aave, what do you see with Aave? We see, a big range in here, right? And the price broke out of the range, but it came back in. It's sort of that last phase before that Wyckoff accumulation break to the upside. By the way, before I show that, I just wanted to show this chart this person posted on TradingView. I'm not sure on the very top if you wanted to follow him. It's Billaboo or something like that. But basically, he's actually on Twitter. I can't remember his handle name, but anyway, he has this chart. He always puts out these interesting charts to me. So look, you can see the last time Bitcoin broke out in an all-time high, right? He pointed down, then it went up, right, in the flap, and then that's what happened with XRP. It had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It broke the triangle, then it went up. But look at this. This is really cool. So now we have a Bitcoin all-time high, right? He pointed down, right? Because it usually breaks the top, then it comes back down. That's exactly what's happening here, right? And then look at this. you can see what XRP is doing in its sort of triangle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we'll see. I can't remember when he posted this. I guess it says up here. Was that March 1st? I'm not sure how to read that. Maybe it was March. Oh, on the top. Okay. So yeah, in March. He posted it in March. I'm not sure what day though. But anyway, just wanted to show that. So I mean, Aave was an example. Well, we'll talk. Theta Fuel is a good example too. So we'll do it with Theta Fuel. So basically, you have this range, right? You broke out of the range, and this is why I'm bullish on the altcoins, and this is why I think either Bitcoin's going to range, right, for a fourth wave, then continue in that fifth wave, and things will get really crazy, or Bitcoin is still not completed with the third wave. Right, it's in a subwave of the third wave, which will take less time, and you still have another high in the third wave. Then the altcoins also, continue higher. But then when Bitcoin finally gets into its fourth wave, that's when you can start to really see these bigger swings, for alts to catch up. So it's sort of like a tug and pull relationship. But essentially, where I'm thinking we're at is right at the top of that resistance point, right? So with a lot of these alts, obviously, like the price of Theta is a lot higher, but essentially, I'm looking at a lot of the alts right here. So I think a lot of them are in this zone in here, right? So, wherever, Aave, I think Filecoin, Theta, I think is a little higher than that. So any coin, I mean, a lot of the charts look pretty much the same, which is obviously they have a bull market, they have a bear market, and then they have the range right here. So whatever coin you're looking at, look at the range. Is the price broken above the range? If it is, then chances are, right, Wyckoff accumulation, here's your accumulation, here's your accumulation, here's your spring, right? It's obviously a different schematic, but same thing, right? You break above here, both of these resistance. That's exactly what happened with Theta Fuel. So what's next? What's next? Right? So, I mean, you could see right here on the top, there's two lines, right? And you can see, let me zoom it in here. You could see the two lines, right? We broke above the two lines, and then we go A, B, C, go. Or some type of, it's just an example, right? It could be any shape it wants, but it's basically flagging out on top of the resistance, building up accumulation on top of the resistance, back testing the top of the breakout, right? We've been in a range for a long time. We broke the range. Now we're back testing the range. And that's exactly what's happening with Theta Fuel, right? So Theta Fuel is a very good example of where I think a lot of these altcoins are. So if it were to continue to follow this Wyckoff accumulation example, right, then I would suspect, right, you can see we have 1, 2, 3, and so far we only have 1. So maybe we come up for 2, then we come down for 3, then we go, right? And then it would look identical to this. So let me take this off the screen because we have that understanding now, right? And then we get up there. So that's sort of, if I had to guess what the altcoins are going to do, I would think something like this. So let me actually make that a little bigger. So something like that. So, here's the resistance. We play around, we back test it a little bit, then we continue higher, right? So when I look at, Theta, for example, where are you at, Theta? Right here. If I look at Theta, for example, it's already beyond that point, and I'm going to talk about that in my next video. I'm not going to get too long here, but essentially, it was a front runner in the crypto space, right? A lot of Theta is actually very bullish in that sense because it led, right? A lot of coins are still down here: XRP, XLM, Quant, Aave, just to name a few that I've been looking at, but there's a lot of them. that are down in here, right? Which means that they have more upside potential in the short term, but they're not really leading the pack like Theta is. So I'll talk about Theta later on, but essentially it's kind of like in a situation where Bitcoin is, right? Where you have 1, 2, 1. This can come back down for 2, and then that would be my best case. That would be the thing that I would want the most, would be a 1, 2, 1, 2. If we can get Theta to come all the way back down to, around $1.60, $2, that would be a 1, 2, 1, 2. That would be so bullish, right? If not, then that's fine. It's in the middle of some type of fourth wave. 1, 2, 3, right? We get 4, and then we get 5. Then we get that ABC. Then we continue the bull run, right? So, but yeah, if I zoom in, that's just let me zoom in here. We could see, it's potentially like Bitcoin, right? It's some type of flat where you have an A, come up in 3 waves, take out the top. That's B. So A, B, and now we're in C. The question is C finished, or are we going to get more of an expanded flat then go? So we can come up here, continue higher, or come back down, then continue higher. If this is a flat, which it very much looks like it's a flat, right? And what I would like to see is the bull market support band get up here. We have an A, B, C, and we meet up with the bull market. That would be incredible. That's what you want. If you're an investor, you want the price to have a proper correction, a proper rest, right? You want it to, if you work out all week long and you're sore, you need to take a rest day, because then you're just doing yourself a disservice when you go to the gym the next day, because you can't work out to the maximum capacity that you're used to, right? So that's what you want for your investments. You want it to have a proper rest. Come down here. I would say around that $2 mark would be a good idea. That would be cool. But there's, it doesn't have to, right? There's always a chance that it's over with now, right? We did have 3 waves. So we have 1, 2, 3, right? So it could turn into a 4 and a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? A, B, and then a C. And usually a flat is an ABC. It is actually, and you have 5 waves. So far, we only have 3. So it wouldn't surprise me if this thing had made another low, right? If it made another low. So you do have some bullish divergence between the 2 lows, right? I mean, there's always a chance that it can come down and make a triple divergence, right? Where you come down 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So lower low, lower low, lower low, higher low, higher low, higher low. That would be good. That would be a good entry, right? If not, then it flags out, right, in an ABC correction like I talked about with Bitcoin. Then it continues higher. So we'll see. We'll see. We're, like I've been saying, I said last week, this week is probably going to be more of a corrective week, and that's what we're getting. So for the last, really since right after March occurred, I've been saying, hey, we need this, and we're getting it now. So I mean, it could last a while. It could last a couple more weeks. And we'll talk more about that as the days go on. But so far, I've given you, 58 minutes worth of information. Just to touch on XRP real quick. So look at XRP. It went all the way down to the bull market support band, and now it's being held. I don't want XRP to go any lower than where it is now. I really want it to stay above. It's above the 200 week, right? And things like that. So I like XRP in a little bit, and I'll talk much more about this on another video, but I just wanted to get a Bitcoin video out. But essentially, right, even what BCB said, A, B, C, right, or A, B, C, D, and now we're in the middle of E. Once we get that E wave, we go, right? So the E wave of the E wave of the E wave can be also an ABC or ABCDE, right? So we can have, right, you have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, go. So A, B, C, D, E, go. So some type of triangle pattern in here, right? That would be a really good idea. It doesn't have to be that though. Just to, you know, it doesn't matter necessarily what the correction is. It just matters, are we getting a correction? And yes, we're getting a correction per se, right? So the destination of where we're going is all the same, which is once the correction is done, I see much more bullish upside, more upside, right? So a correction can take on many forms. That's one form. Another form would be, we have 1, 2, all of that's 3, 4, and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have an A, B, C, and let's continue higher. Or we have a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, some type of W, X, Y. Then we continue higher. So 1, 2, then we go higher, right? So it'll be like a three-way pullback. Now, just to show you real quick on the smaller time frame, let's go to the smaller time frame here. I like the way this kind of looks here, because it does look kind of almost complete. You have 1, 2, right? You have all of this is 3, come up for 4, and then you have 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're sort of finding support in here. Boom, boom, boom. We're finding that floor here. And then bam, we got this impulse right here. So maybe we get a little pullback, continue higher. That would be great on the short term. Remember, there's different time frames for different things. So that would be amazing to see that. And also, if you see this pattern here, let me see if I can turn on. Yeah, you can see some bullish divergence in here. But then also, I want to show you a fractal here with XRP. I'm already over an hour, but it's okay because we haven't had a video in a few days. So we see this sort of boom, boom, and then you have this big spike. You come back down, boom, 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 right? Remember that. Take a mental screenshot of that. Let me show you something. Look at Bitcoin right here. Kind of like not a perfect example, but you could say maybe a fractal where you have this boom, boom, boom. Then you have this spike to the upside, right? You come down, you go boom, boom, come down, and then bam, you break out, right? So look at this little, it sort of looked bearish, right? It makes you think it's bearish, like it's a head and shoulders pattern, but it's sort of like a double shoulder, right? A head or a spike up, come back down, another sort of double shoulder. You come back down, you make a higher low, boom, go. So take a mental screenshot of that fractal, right? So here we are again. It's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect, right? But it sort of looks similar where you have boom, boom, right? Double shoulder, you come up for a head, and then boom, boom, you have another double shoulder, right? And it's all while holding this sort of sloping sort of support line, right? This downward support line. So it's bouncing, whoop, bouncing. Eventually it sort of takes off and gets out of there. If that's the sort of the fractal, the way the fractal is. So I just thought I'd point that out. It looks pretty good there. So maybe, like I said, we have this impulse. Let's come back down, retest the top of the bull market support band, and let's continue marching on up. The short term, right? So we want support to come in. We don't want a free for all. We really want support to come in. Now, when I take this off and I look at the 8-hour chart, that's a beautiful candle. We come down here, and then that's another thing. I don't know why I didn't say it. We need a base, right? Anytime you fall down, right? You want to make a base, and look at this. We made somewhat of a small base here, and now we're pumping back to the upside, and that's what you really want. Now when I look at let's look at QNT for an example. Yeah, same thing. You have this beautiful three-way pullback. 1, 2, 3. Right off the bull market support band, make a base, boom, engulfing candle. It's not going to keep going. We're probably going to have some type of correction in here, right? But you want to see support get held, because if you look at QNT, you see this beautiful base in here, right? You break the base, you back test it, you come up, and then it was pretty bearish, right? We came back down, put it right there. So this top right here, we tested it, came all the way down, tested again. So we really need to hold above this 113 area. I would really want it to stay above the bull market support band and stay above 113, right? So theta, it's in a different category, right? It's looks more like Bitcoin, where you didn't really have a base down here, but you had a 1, 2, 3, and then you also have an A, B, C. You also have that flat pattern, which could lead to a much higher price, right? Like XRP, Aave, QNT, Filecoin, Theta Fuel, they're much closer to their bull market support band. I mean, XRP is literally on its bull market support band, right? So Theta has much more wiggle room to the downside, right? XRP, you don't want it to fall anymore. Theta, there's always a chance it could come down to its bull market support band, right? Same thing with Bitcoin. So, yeah, sort of a interesting correction. Just following up from what I had out yesterday, or I'm sorry, not yesterday, last week, which was basically looking at, a potential flat pattern. And, yeah, it's looking good for that. I mean, even ADA could be a flat on a much bigger frame. Look at A, B, we come down for C, right? But the important thing to know is, a lot of these coins are very close to their breakout ranges, right? They're in their range for a long time, right? So here's the range, and then boom, they finally break above the range right here, right? So then they come down to back test the range, and just like that Wyckoff accumulation example, what do we see? Boom, 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 and then we go. So something like that, right? When you zoom out, some type of consolidation, right? That will lead into a higher price. So maybe that's what we're in store for, right? And then if that's the case, then maybe I don't get my breakout in April or May, right? Like I said, it's very hard to get timing correct. But so for now, I'll still stick with April or May. Let me put a line there, actually. So I guess my last day, just as a fun exercise, right, would be the last day of May. We'll say June 1st, right? Obviously, that would be the end. So if we don't break out by then, obviously that sort of prediction would be wrong, right? So, and basically, just to recap, we have our first base here, right? And then we broke out, and now we're creating a second base here. And my thought is that we break above this base in April or May. So can we do it? I think we could do it. I'm an optimist. I think we can get it done. If we don't get it done, it's okay. It's okay. It takes longer, but whatever. It's all about, it's all about, for me, I don't mind. I mean, I do mind waiting, but you don't have a choice, right? If you believe in an investment, doesn't matter what it is, whatever crypto you like, sometimes it takes time. We're very early, right? We barely got the ETF. We don't even have real regulation yet. It's an election year. I think we're going to get real elections when we get a new president. very soon. So as of now, things are looking really good. I mean, we're holding support, right? I mean, look at this. We have a range, right? We broke above the range. Then we build another range on top of this range. Now, where have we seen that before? We've seen that with Bitcoin back down over here, right? So you have a range, right? Then you break out, you create another range. So think about XRP being somewhere in here. And where was it? What was it doing? It was all up and down the bull market support band. Now look at where Bitcoin was. It tested the bull market support band all down in here. Look at this. And what did it take a shape in? It was actually an A, B, C, I guess you could say D, and this was E. So A, B, C, D, E is some type of triangle, contracting triangle, and bam, we broke out. So that, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and it actually looks really good like that. So we have this sort of contracting triangle in here on the second square, on the second range, and then boom, we broke out. When did it break out? It actually broke out in May, interestingly. So yeah, we'll see. So yeah, here's XRP just to show you real quick. Same kind of thing, right? On that second square, you have A, B, C. Maybe you get, here's A, B, C, D, and now we're in E, right? We get that E wave, and then boom, we go. And hopefully it happens April or May. Because if it doesn't happen in May, then statistically, when you get into the summer, it takes a lot longer, right? So if I just had to draw it on here, right, you need sort of 3 waves. So you got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, some type of 3-wave move where you're just, on the bull market support band in here, right? And then bam, we can go. So when I zoom out, that's what it looks like. A, B, C, D, E, right? So 1, 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Contracting, triangle, breakout. Let's go. Okay, that'll do it for this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll try to get another video out soon. Like I said, I've been visiting with some family. Haven't had time to look at the charts really. Especially when it's in a correction, just don't look at it. Don't keep looking at the price. Just forget about it. Let the price come to you instead of chasing the price. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm gonna do a more in-depth analysis on the altcoins like THETA. I want to do a THETA video, a THETA fuel, right? And we'll talk more about that. But I really wanted to get the overall macro Bitcoin update out. So yeah, as always, if you wanted to support my work, and here's a tip jar here. I got 4 addresses on the screen. If you wanted to scan them and leave a tip and support the channel, that is always massively appreciative, and I will continue to do the best of my abilities to give you the most details possible, even though it might not be some people's style. But that's why I think I'm going to end up doing 2 different styles: more detailed analysis, and then more of a quick status update in the form of maybe a members video or something like that. I mean, who knows? Maybe I might even open a Discord at some point later in the future. But now I just kind of want to see where the channel takes me. Like I said, I've been doing this pretty seriously since October, right at that end of that Wyckoff accumulation. I thought that was a good time to come out and start doing these videos. I didn't think I can do it if I didn't think I can provide any value, right? Because there's so many different channels out there, but I try to do it a little differently and provide, a different perspective on that value. So yeah. Anyways, if you would be so kind, it would be amazing if you hit that like button and always drop a comment. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out. And I will catch you guys on the next one. I'll probably do a rapid fire video sometime this week. we'll see. I'm pretty sure I can do it. And if you have any coins you want me to take a look at, you can always drop them in the comment section, and I'll add them to the list. So anyways, I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.